All right. Welcome back to the cutting room floor, episode 3. We had something else planned for today, but at the last minute it clicked. It is May the 4th be with you. So we got to discuss Star Wars in all its glory and what led up to this and what it has done for cinema, because we all know and love this and we know it's influenced a lot. So how you want to kick this off?
Well, I was thinking when we decided to do Star Wars, which was very recently, let's say before midnight
Yes.
today. I the first things that popped into my head were some of the influences because we were going to do just to prep everybody. I'm Jamie,
I am Dom.
and we were going to do a comparison of two films, Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa and Fistful of Dollars, which we will do later. But thinking about Star Wars, I did think about some of the editing techniques of Akira Kurosawa in Yojimbo. Like, I want to call it like a swipe.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
He
yeah,
loves that.
yeah, and that's the one thing I did notice in Yojimbo. I'm like, I remember that from like every episode of Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, and no matter which one, which trilogy, because there's obviously 3 trilogies. No matter which one, they still use the same techniques. I assume for consistency.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but I'd kind of prefer to talk about the first 3
Of course.
and maybe touch on the prequels because they're
Yeah, we gotta definitely touch
Yeah.
on the prequels.
because they're definitely more canon, and obviously the prequels are based on his original treatment for Star Wars to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So those and some of the earlier influences that obviously George Lucas would have grown up with and sort of amalgamated into what became the juggernaut that was Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what popped into my head. So I was doing some research and some reading. So I think I'm better prepared than I normally would be.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us what you've learned?
Okay, well, obviously, any nerd worth his salt knows that Star Wars came out in May of '77.
Mm-hmm.
So anything before that, I would say, is fair game. But I wanted to focus on just like 3, let's say, pre-Superman heroes that really influenced the sci-fi genre, and I believe Star Wars specifically, because Superman, as we know, changed the game for everything as far as I'll say space because he came from Krypton.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like space and earthbound heroes go. So when we're talking about Star Wars, obviously it's in a galaxy far, far away. Long time ago. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I looked back and I can't remember the name of this one character, but I know John Carter.
Mhm.
As you recall, the film came out in 2012.
Mhm.
It was the first and only so far live action Pixar film.
Mhm.
The original John Carter story started being published in the early 20th century. I may save that question for later.
Okay.
But the point is, John Carter essentially started this whole idea of, I want to say, humans in space. Like, I know War of the Worlds, the book was published in the late 1890s, but that was aliens coming here
Yeah.
and all that. And there was another story similar to John Carter, and I forget, but it wasn't as popular. So that's probably why I forget what it was. But they were always about these like Confederate soldiers because they were on the losing side.
Yeah.
So I guess that they needed a win somehow. But they somehow found themselves on another planet in space, still fighting. So like John Carter. Did you see the movie John Carter?
I saw it when it first came out.
Yes.
But because I liked what's his name, Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor
I
Kitsch,
liked him.
he's a
at the
decent
time.
actor.
Yeah, he's very good actually. So I did see it around then because I was watching Friday Night Lights and stuff.
Oh.
So yeah, I was on a kick with him, and he was in a movie I like called Savages too with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, Oliver Stone directed it, right?
Yeah,
yes,
pretty
yes.
good, pretty good.
And Mrs. Ryan Reynolds was in it.
Yeah, Blake Lively.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
Yep, she was in there looking right. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did see it then, but I really don't remember it. I should watch it again soon. I remember thinking it was okay, but I only remember a couple little parts.
Well, I guess the main thing to remember about John Carter, not even the film, but you might remember some of this from being like visuals in the film. Before that film ever came out, it's been said, and I remember reading somewhere that like the best live action adaptation of John Carter before that was the beginning of Return of the Jedi.
Well,
So
yeah.
so if you think about the way Leia was dressed as like Jabba's slave, and that's like Deja Thoris from John Carter, and at least the books, maybe not the film, but the books. And like the way that that Tatooine is like a desert planet is sort of how Mars is,
Mm-hmm.
and you know all the different aliens fighting and things like that. So like I guess in that equation, Luke would have been the John Carter, and she would have been the Deja Thoris, and he's trying to save her because the first John Carter is the Princess of Mars, so he's trying to save the Princess of Mars,
Okay.
and he finds himself staring at Mars in the book. I read the book a long time ago, and it's sort of like astral projection in the book. He finds himself on Mars suddenly, whereas in the film, I believe he's transported there.
Which makes more sense
Yeah.
for a film adaptation.
Yeah, it does. But you know, for like the early 1900s, I guess anything was plausible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I can think myself somewhere. Great, I'm there now.
I'm there.
So that's how he got there, and he finds that he can basically leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Wow.
He's more powerful than a locomotive. You know, basically like all the early Superman things.
Yeah, like all the Superman tropes.
Yeah, before Superman could fly, basically, and without like heat vision. But he had like, you know, super strength, and he could jump, and he could do these things, so he helped save the civilization on Mars. And that's and basically the books were published throughout the early 20s to the 30s, I believe. And in the early 1930s, there was interest in a comic strip version. So Edgar Rice Burroughs, who also created Tarzan, another lasting character, he couldn't come to an agreement with William Randolph Hearst, the owner of King Feature Syndicate, or William Randolph Hearst just refused to sign. It depends on which version you read.
Mm-hmm.
So a few days later, or maybe a few weeks later, Flash Gordon premieres in comic strips.
Uh-huh.
And Flash Gordon has been widely regarded, at least the early version of it, as a total ripoff of John Carter. Because of, you know, the guy going into space and saving the planet and all that stuff, and doing like John Carter things. Even though Flash Gordon, I think at the time, was like a college football star. Because they called like all football stars Flash, I guess, if they were fast back then.
Yeah.
So it's I forget Flash Gordon's actual real name. Isn't that terrible? Because it's not Flash. It's I don't remember. Wait, might have to look it up.
Let's see real quick.
Yeah.
Go on, I'll figure it out.
Okay, so Flash Gordon is considered then like a ripoff of John Carter, but at the time, John Carter is becoming, I'd say, less important because it's basically the pop culture of the time. Like John Carter was popular during pulps, like pulp magazine publications and things of that nature. But now comic strips were becoming more of like the pop culture thing to reach more people in a shorter period of time because you could read it in the newspaper daily. Nice. Instead of waiting like, you know, month after month or whatever for the new chapter or the new installment. So you have Flash Gordon coming out, and then before that you had Buck Rogers, which was another thing. But Buck Rogers was a little different. He was a guy who fell asleep because of radioactive gas and was in suspended animation for 500 years and woke up in the future. So kind of like Fry in Futurama, in a way. I believe that's where they got that thing from, was from Buck Rogers. Even though Fry was cryogenically frozen, you know, in the 20s, it's the same type of idea.
Yeah.
So he woke up in the future and ends up like, you know, they always meet a girl. They have to. John Carter met Deja Thoris. Flash Gordon had Dale Arden, who was with him from the beginning, and Dr. Zarkov. excuse me, and Buck Rogers had Wilma Deering, who he met right away. Because Buck Rogers started out as two like novellas that were published in another pulp magazine, and then it became a comic strip in the late 20s. So Buck Rogers and John Carter, I believe, influenced Flash Gordon. I should have mentioned Buck Rogers first. I do apologize.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah. So then you have Flash Gordon as kind of like an amalgam of both of them, and then this this penchant, I guess, to adapt popular things. So you had like Dick Tracy comics, movie serials, because Dick Tracy was a popular comic at the time, and other things had been adapted, like Zorro, Lone Ranger, and all that. So a few years later, they adapt Flash Gordon, starring Buster Crabbe, which is the first sci-fi serial. There had been obviously other sci-fi films like Metropolis, which had a heavy influence on, like, let's say, C-3PO's design.
Absolutely.
And so Flash Gordon then, because of the way that movie serials were produced cheaply and fast, I think a lot of those cuts, like the swipe and all those things that you see in Star Wars films, and including the chapters, because movie serials, serials, were chapters each week. So you have like episode 4, A New Hope, would be chapter 4 of like a serial. That was, I believe, George Lucas's original plan, was to have each film be like a chapter of a serial.
Yeah.
So you have that influence with it, and then I don't know. I think Buster Crabbe, he was Flash Gordon in the first Flash Gordon serial, and the 3 that followed, and he also played Buck Rogers. So he was also Tarzan at one point.
Well, they just wanted. Yeah, he was just the guy then.
Yeah, he was an Olympic athlete. He was a swimmer.
Wow.
Like in the 20s, and I guess the maybe the early 30s, and then he had the physique for Tarzan. I believe he was Tarzan first, and then he just had that look and the physique to be those heroes. And so I could talk a little more about the things a little later, but that's sort of, I think the foundation is like the movie serials, especially Flash Gordon and the popularity of it, and Buster Crabbe just being like the swashbuckling hero. And also in Buck Rogers, because I was reading the original story, because there's 2 stories, like I said, before the comic strip came out. And he woke up he's in Pennsylvania, because that's where he fell asleep. And, the world is overrun with Mongolians, except for in America. Like Americans are still like fighting, right? I didn't read the whole story, believe it or not. But there's a group of people that have taken over, I guess, like America, and they're called the Hans. Han. Yeah. And I guess they have the ability to I want to say fly. So I guess they have, airships and things. So a Han that knows how to fly. I don't know where that would have come from or what that would have influenced.
No clue.
So Han Solo might honestly be like the Star Wars version of like Buck Rogers, even though obviously he didn't fall asleep for 500 years. But I believe, the way that he ends up helping, could be the same type of concept.
Yeah, but Han Solo tried to avoid being a hero at all costs.
That is true.
He was not about it. But he did end up becoming a hero and actually becoming pretty important to the revolution, essentially.
So Dom, I know you're a big Star Wars fan. Tell me, how do you feel about Star Wars?
Okay, so Star Wars, for me, so when I first saw it when I was, super young, and I thought A New Hope, I thought the first 30 minutes was one of the most boring things I ever saw. Yeah. But when you're, 8, 9, you're like, okay, whatever. Because you got to think, when I saw it, A Phantom Menace was coming out.
Okay.
I saw Phantom Menace in theaters, and then I wanted to see the original. So I actually saw the episode 1 first.
Really?
Wow. So then I watched the original trilogy, had the little 3-piece tape box set. Yeah, so but I did think A New Hope was boring at first, and I thought it was okay. Now, I liked Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Now, as I got older and revisited them, the original trilogy, because I was all about the prequels.
Okay.
But I grew up with them. That
Yes,
was
yes.
my era. So,
Yeah.
so for me, I do think the original trilogy is much better. But I grew up with the prequels. I saw them in theaters. So, you know, they hit a little different for me. But when I watched the OT again, when I got older, I don't know, something stirred in the brain and went crazy because I just looked at them in an entirely different light. And then when I watched The Empire Strikes Back and kind of put into perspective of what George Lucas did for that time was just kind of unreal. He took a kid's story, a family-friendly story, and flipped it on its head in the best way you could possibly do. And I think he really set the blueprint up of how to make a great sequel, probably right outside of Richard Donner, really,
Oh yeah.
with the Donner cut at Superman 2. So George Lucas made one of the best sequels of all time and kind of set that standard, even though he didn't direct it. He ghost directed it. You know,
Yeah,
this man
yeah.
was there.
It was his story, and he
Yeah,
has
it was
a lot
his
of input
baby.
because
Yeah.
exactly.
He was, come on, this man was right there, you know. So, but something about The Empire Strikes Back in particular, just, I don't know, it hit on so many different levels. And it's really kind of hard to explain why. But the story itself is just, I think it's one of the coolest. And I love Luke's progression throughout that film and watching him go to Dagobah. First of all, the world that was created, when you start and you see Hoth, this icy world, you're like, what is going on?
It's the antithesis of Tatooine.
Yeah, it's like,
It is, yeah.
okay, it's like we were hot as hell, now
Yeah.
we're cold as, you know. And you
Yeah.
got Luke riding the Wampas and he's all snow geared out, and you're like, yo, what's going on? And then in the first 5 minutes, this man almost gets killed. And I'm like, bro, is this dude really about to get eaten? I'm like, of course not. But I'm like, yo, he could get messed up real quick. Then this man does almost die. Han Solo has to cut one of them open, put this man inside of it to keep him warm.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I seeing? But I was just, you know, I was glued, and I'm like, man, this is getting wild. And then you just throw on the little layer of, you know, the romance with the little love triangle that's going on between Luke, Leia, and Han, which at the time, you know, seems okay because you don't know what's to come in Return of the Jedi.
Well, I think even now in hindsight, you could watch it and see that Leia was using Luke to make Han jealous.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Especially, you know, after Luke gets injured, Han saves him and she kisses him on the bed. And, you know, Han knows, though. He knows.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, come on. You know that's all me. So, okay. But Luke, really, you know, Luke did like her, you know. Because, I mean, look at him in A New Hope. He was simping hard. He was like, he saw her in a hologram and was like, oh, my Lord, I got to save this girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know this chick. Shit, she can die for all I care.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
but he was sprung off the rip. So, I mean, he's like, oh, he saw that, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he was done after that.
Yeah, call me Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Because I'm your only hope.
I'm your only hope. But that layer with the love triangle and watching Han and Leia progress, going through, running from the Empire with annoying C3 and Chewie's progression, and every character is just fleshed out so well. Everything is interesting. Everything ties up so well. And by the time you get to Cloud City and you meet Lando, Lando is literally the Black Han Solo, just smooth as
he is giving him Colt 45 to drink.
Yeah, dude. Like he's chilling.
Yeah,
he's a smooth operator. And, you know, of course, he tried to swing up on Leia, you know, which is funny. But then when Vader gets there, man, it gets so intense. And Vader
and Boba Fett, the first time you see Boba Fett.
the first time you see Boba Fett. And, you know, he made such an impact with probably a total of 8 to 12 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And he instantly became a fan favorite. But look at the design of him. He was cool looking, jetpack, cool ship that like folded sideways when it flew and it landed all cool. He was total badass. He came in fearless, started dumping on Luke as soon as he saw him. I'm like, oh man, run, Luke. But man, by the time Vader and Luke get to Cloud City and that interaction between them, and when you see these two pull them saber, when you see that red saber come out of Vader's hands and that mist in that room where they freeze Han Solo, that setting with the orange lit up stairs and the misty blue background.
And the grating that they're stepping on.
It's just, man, it's nothing like it. It's just the vibe of it off the charts. And when you see that red saber come out, you're just like, here it comes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's what you've been waiting for. Because by this point, you've only seen one lightsaber battle.
Yeah, that's right. Obi-Wan and Vader.
And it's 2 seconds long.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's not really fighting him.
No.
He lets him essentially kill him. He turns into a Force ghost. But that's not a real fight. But you see the fight, you know what's to come later. And you know, like, man, this is what we've been waiting for. And to see these two fight, because at this time, you don't know Luke is the son of Vader. And you're like, yeah, you got to avenge Uncle Ben, you know? You got to avenge old Ben.
Little Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta come through. You essentially killed my uncle, my like adopted granddad, whatever you want to call him. And when these two fight, and you know Luke isn't ready. You know he isn't ready. And Vader toys with him. And just this man's, the way he comes across like an evil, sick, twisted badass that's just so cool and unique and one of the most interesting villains. I don't know. I've never rooted for a villain so hard. Like, I was like, man, it'd be sick if Luke went to the dark side. Like, how sick could that be? Because he would be insane. And by the time they get out to the platform and Vader cuts this kid's arm off.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't expect to see in a sequel to A New Hope. A New Hope was very tailored to children.
It was,
now, we do see an arm get cut off there. You know, Obi-Wan cuts off one of the aliens' arms in the canteen.
Yes.
There is blood, which I think would have to make that an R-rated film, right?
Probably at the time, but it was alien blood.
It was alien blood.
So maybe that's why.
Red.
Okay.
but
yeah.
That's you see it there, but when you see that, it's like, all right, well, you know, whatever. Who the hell is this guy? But when you see Luke get his hand cut off, you're like, dude, you just cut the main dude's hand off. Like, what's
and he's right-handed too.
And this, I'm like, yo, and Luke's sitting there, and the wind's blowing, and the dude's face looks so. I'm like, oh man, Mark Hamill, you are not ready, man. And Vader tells him, like, bro, I'm your father's son, and I'm like, even before you see the films, it's so popular in pop culture, you can not see Star Wars and you know Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad.
Yeah.
But when you still hear him say it for the first time, it's like, even though you know. It's
something
crazy.
in the way that James Earl Jones says it, though.
Yes, bro. He was the perfect voice actor for him. And David Prowse, great physical actor.
Presence.
Yeah. He was perfect. Tall guy. Vader's scary looking, man. And then, he's all robe-tronic and you don't know what he looks like under there. It's like,
I just realized, though, as you were saying it, and I'm thinking about that scene, because does he cut Luke's hand off before he tells him he's his dad?
Yes.
Okay. So, knowing what we know about Revenge of the Sith and what happened to Vader, do you think he did that in order to, in some way, force Luke to become more like Vader?
Yes. And so when I saw Revenge of the Sith and watched Empire Strikes Back again and put him in a context, I thought that exact same thing. I'm like, well, Vader knows, bro, this ain't nothing. I ain't got no limbs.
Yeah, I park in a handicap zone all the time.
All the time, bro. Like, dude, we're going to get you a handicap placard. You're going to be good.
Maybe it should have his face on the handicap stuff. You know?
That'd be great instead of the little wheelchair
Yeah,
guy.
just show Vader.
The little white outline of Vader's helmet. That would be perfect.
Because people would know.
They would know. They'd be like, oh, yep. I ain't got no limbs. That's where I park.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So Vader, he knew. He's like, bro, you're going to be all good, man. It's just one limb. I ain't got no legs or arms. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something about that scene, that entire third act is one of the best third acts in cinema. And not to mention when Han's about to get frozen and Harrison Ford off the head delivers the impromptu I know in response to Leia telling him she loves him.
The best.
The best. Something about when I saw it when I was older, because when you're a kid, you don't have a concept of love like that.
Yeah.
But after you've experienced some things in love and life, I was like, I just made a face and like a lot of thoughts ran through my head. I was like,
one of those thoughts had to have been Han Solo is the coolest guy ever.
No, absolutely. I was like, bro, that's some gangster shit.
That is, yeah, I know.
And you may never see this chick again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, bro, that's dope. And because I'm pretty sure the original line was "I love you too," and Harrison Ford was like, "That's boring as hell." But Han Solo wouldn't say that, and I think he's right. Like, although yes.
He might say it to Chewie though.
He would say it
because there's a special connection and not anything like creepy or weird.
No, it's like almost like a pet.
Yeah, or even
best friend.
Best friend.
Because
yeah.
Chewie is not a pet. The dude's smarter than him. So.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's very true.
Not a pet.
Yeah,
and he's gonna outlive him.
Yeah,
well, he does outlive him, but. Even still, I think Chewie's like 300 years old or 250 or something. Chewie's old.
And I think Chewie I don't know if it's canon, but I remember reading before the original idea was something like Han grew up on the Wookiee planet.
Yeah.
And I think Chewie helped raise him.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the original ideas. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That if they could have made a cool little side comic or something, fan fiction off that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Chewie he's awesome too. And just like you said, I do believe that Han does love Leia. I think he grew to love Leia. I don't know if he loved her in the moment that he says it, or that he told her, I know. I don't know if he feels it there yet. I know he does care about her, but I do think at that point, Chewie was probably the only being that he loved.
Yeah.
Because he's the only person he could trust. He's a smuggler. He's a gambler, card player.
Yeah.
He lives like a Western cowboy. Because keep it real, Star Wars is a Western.
Yeah. Western in space.
Yeah, that's what it is. So he lives like a cowboy. I mean, bro, when you first meet him, when he shoots Greedo, that's super saloon-esque.
That is, yeah. And it's a cantina. So it's a canteen.
It's the saloon.
Yeah, it is.
There's gangster dudes in there that look like aliens, but they're essentially outlaw cowboys.
Yeah.
Han got the blaster on his hip, like pulling the 6-shooter out.
Yeah.
Who can shoot faster? Greedo couldn't, so that was that. And so I think Chewie and Han's arc is really nice, and you see that progression build in Empire Strikes Back, especially right at the beginning when Luke and him don't make it back before they close the doors, and when you hear that door close, Chewie loses his mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, this is his boy. They've been riding together forever. So. But the Empire Strikes Back in particular really was the one that pulled my Star Wars love in and made it for me more than just some franchise. But Return of the Jedi is also great.
Yeah.
I think that's the last 30 minutes of that movie. When you get to see Palpatine in the flesh.
Yes.
And the back and forth between him and Luke and Vader standing there like a straight G. And just the conversation Luke and Vader have on the elevator is just amazing. Father and son talk.
So do you think, like going from Empire to Return, so and going off of the now, because at the end of Empire you see Luke getting the robot hand, and then they're just kind of standing there staring out into space as it like fades the credits, and you're just like,
it's one of the bleakest endings.
Yeah, it's almost like the most modern way to think about it is like the end of Infinity War. Yeah.
Yep. I was like,
Yes.
it's gotta be in the
Yeah,
Infinity War type of ending.
How like depressed you were.
Yep,
You're like, wait, what? Everyone's losing and they're beat down. What's going to happen to the Rebel Alliance, right?
Absolutely.
So then you see Luke, you know, they set up in return, oh my God, C-3PO and R2-D2 like go to Jabba's palace, and that bounty hunter takes Chewie there because of the bounty on him and all that stuff. And then Luke shows up.
Yep.
And Luke is wearing black.
Yes.
Now, I realize that Chuck Norris was in a film called Good Guys Wear Black. Don't get me wrong.
Never seen it. Is it good?
It's, you know, like...
It's a Chuck Norris movie.
Yeah, late 70s Chuck Norris. So,
okay.
So, for what it was, yes.
Okay.
And my grandmother was obsessed with Chuck Norris, so I've seen way too many Chuck Norris films. Yeah, it must have been his mustache.
It was something. You know, it was red hair, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he had a beard at one point then too. Yeah,
I mean, he was good at karate, bro.
Yeah, he was.
He was. Move. Like even Bruce gave him his props.
Yeah. So because he's wearing black, Luke in the beginning of Return, would that show? And I know his lightsaber at that point then is green.
Mm-hmm.
But would him wearing black show the like he's kind of waffling, like whether or not to go? Yeah, he's kind of like on the fence as far as light or dark, you know?
Yes, absolutely, and that's exactly what I took away from him wearing black.
It's a great costume, though.
It's an awesome costume. It's very ninja-like.
Yeah,
Luke comes in Return of the Jedi. He's not the Luke. He's not the Luke that was in Empire Strikes Back, and he's definitely not the Luke from A New Hope. This Luke is confident. This Luke is far more intelligent. He's experienced. He's dealt with trauma. He's had time to sit on things. He's had time to train, hone in with the Force. And this boy is not to be denied at all. And the way he approaches Jabba is on some gangster stuff. He's like, bro, you gonna give me what I want or it's gonna be a problem. Okay. Yeah. And that's how it goes. And he ain't no joking, ain't no negotiating in between, nothing. Give me what I want or I'm taking your ass out. And that's his attitude. And I'm like, bro, he is definitely teetering the line of what to do because let's keep it real. Luke longed for his father the entire time. He was asking questions. When he met Ben, he's like, bro, wait, you knew my dad? You fought with my pops? I want to be just like him. I want to be a Jedi like my dad. I want to hold this saber. I want to go out there and make stuff happen. His dad was the best pilot in the galaxy. He was one of the best, you know, machine builders. He built R2, you know. That's something right. A lot of people forget. Yeah. Anakin is a genius. Like, one of the strongest... if he wouldn't have got de-limbed, he'd be probably the strongest Force user in the galaxy. So,
do you think that weakened his ability to use the Force completely?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's just because his heart, everything is pretty much ran on electricity.
Yeah, he's kind of like RoboCop.
Yeah, I'm like, he's not like, that's going to hinder you, man. It's going to hinder you. I do believe that it cripples him, especially in his movements. Think about how fast he could be if he didn't have robotic legs, you know? Think about how heavy he is now.
But does he need to be fast?
I think he gets to a point where he gets so strong with the Force, his movement doesn't really matter because he's going to choke you out from 5 feet away. Yeah. His saber fighting style is extremely lazy and loose, but that Force strength keeps you back. So it's insane. So, but yeah, Luke rides that line the whole film, and in his head, he wants to do the right thing, but I know he wants the approval of his father. So take with that what you will. But
no, that's. I think you're right because that's an interesting way to look at it. Because I was thinking then back to A New Hope where it's obviously a younger Luke, and I'm not exactly sure continuity wise because I know literally wise like the amount of time between the films, but I'm not sure about continuity wise how much time is between A New Hope and Empire and Jedi. So, because when we meet Luke, he seems like a teenager. And then...
I think he's supposed to be 20.
20, okay. Yeah. And then by the time we get to Return, he seems like he's definitely at least in his 30s. if not older. Yeah, because he is so much more mature and so much more, I want to say reserved. Like he he's more in control of his emotions.
Yes, I was gonna say he
Yes.
knows when to pick and choose when
Yes.
to react and how to react much
Yes.
better.
He's actually a lot like I'll say Yojimbo
Yeah,
in a way, because of the way that he could see just a little bit going into Yojimbo. It's a film about a bodyguard,
Mhm.
and he's a Ronin, samurai without a master,
Yeah,
which Luke would have been in return,
essentially
because doesn't
yeah.
Yoda
Yoda's
passes
dead.
away?
Yoda
Yeah.
dies towards the end, but
Yeah, but
I
he's
mean,
still-
at that time Luke was still pretty much rogue.
Yeah.
So
But Yojimbo, my God, Mifune,
he's amazing.
he can go into a situation, and I just have this one movie as reference, see everyone else being crazy, and calmly know how to
pick and choose
Yeah.
where to go and when to do it.
and when to do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I could see a Jedi influence in those things.
So that's a great transition right there. I'm glad you brought that up, because we can talk about the Jedis a little bit and the influence. So Lucas did say Kurosawa's films were heavy influence on the Jedi. So Obi-Wan's character essentially is Toshiro Mifune's character in Hidden Fortress. But the actions and the way of life of the Jedis and their moral code, he brought a lot of that from the Seven Samurai. And Toshiro's character in that film has probably the best character arc of all the samurais, because he changes the most. He starts out extremely just obnoxious, over the top, but he is hilarious. And you're like, what's this guy's deal? And by the end of the film, because it's a 3.5 hour movie, by the end of the film, the man has you in tears. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he progressed so much in this amount of time and grew so much. And, he learned that from being around these other samurai and being led by the head samurai. I looked at as like a Yoda type, kind of the all-knowing, the very, we fight only when necessary. Defense is the first move, not offense, which the Sith's first move is the offense, which the bandits and Seven Samurai, they're coming to attack off the rip, where the samurai are like, we're going to prepare for this and protect ourselves. We're not going to go out looking for trouble, but if and when it comes to us, we will be prepared. And the way they go about their business definitely, I believe, influenced the Jedi Council and their ways. Although I believe the Jedi were extremely flawed in a lot of their ways of thinking. And I love that Lucas doesn't shamelessly hide that. He puts it out there and he wants you to see that, because it does make sense when you get into the story of Darth Vader.
Yes.
So Seven Samurai, big influence on the Jedis, and Hidden Fortress was a big influence on the characters, where, like I said, Toshiro Mifune's character is like Obi-Wan. The two idiots that travel with him and he bosses around, they're essentially C3 and R2, which he does take the technique of telling that story through their eyes, just like he tells A New Hope essentially through the eyes of the robots.
Oh, yeah, because that's how it starts.
Yeah,
you're right.
It starts. They're on the ship. They see everything. R2 has all the info. Everything runs through them droids. Without them droids, they're nothing.
Yeah.
And they're looking for... the Empire's looking for the damn droids.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
These are not the droids you're looking for. Move along now.
Yeah.
So he does that same thing and took that technique from Kurosawa, which I believe was a smart technique, because it shows you the film in an unbiased viewpoint.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Princess Leia character was taken like the princess from Hidden Fortress, who is awesome. I love the princess in Hidden Fortress. First of all, super adorable, super cute chick, fun, gripping, emotional character, badass. She's hard, just like Leia is. If you see the movie, you will understand exactly where he got Leia from. She's a princess. She's essentially on the run. People are looking for her, want to kill her. The Emperor dude kind of looks like a Ming type character.
Oh, from Flash Gordon. Yeah.
He's the dude, essentially the Darth Vader character, trying to catch the princess, put a bounty out on her. It's when you watch The Hidden Fortress, you're like, holy hell, that's A New Hope.
So here's an impromptu streaming recommendation. All
Oh,
these
sorry.
Kurosawa films are on HBO Max,
Mm-hmm.
so they are readily available to
Mhm.
see, commercial free.
Yeah, I think we can just come to a consensus streaming recommendation. Hidden Fortress and Yojimbo.
Yeah,
Because
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo is awesome. And we'll save this for our episode on it, but
Yeah.
if you've seen Sergio Leone's Fistful of Dollars, go watch Yojimbo. Then tell me how you feel about that movie afterwards.
And then in the coming weeks, we'll tell you how we feel about it.
Yes, yes,
After-
we will.
So I'm wondering now, like, if Lucas took like what Kurosawa was doing on I want to say on a human level, because obviously Star Wars is in space.
Mhm.
So there's sort of, in a way, there can be a disconnect. So do you think he took these human emotions and these human actions and these human things from these Kurosawa films in order to humanize characters we wouldn't normally be able to relate to, and to make the story that much deeper?
Well, I've never even thought about that, but absolutely. Because one thing about Kurosawa films, they grab you emotionally because they're really close and intimate. The way he shoots, he doesn't make his movies feel far more grand and large scale than they actually are. And that's just a testament to his filmmaking skills. But within his films, they're intimate stories that very strong character development. And when things happen to these characters, you care. I have cried through at least 4 Kurosawa films, man. Like,
Really?
yeah, man. Seven
Wow.
Samurai put me in tears. Oh, Ikiryu put me in tears.
What's the one where I think the woman's child is kidnapped? Is there some movie like
Oh
that?
my God, The High and the Low.
Yeah, I think I've seen that
good.
years ago. Yes.
That movie had me in tears. That's
Yeah.
another one.
I think that's also on HBO Max.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I got that thing on Criterion Blu-ray, man.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite films. Toshiro's performance in
Incredible.
that movie. The way this man can just flip switch with emotions and emote on cue, it's just when they're on the train and he's about to give up the ransom money. Oh, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. There's a scene where he's on a train and something's happening and he sees something and it just it's something as a real human. If you were in that situation, you would react exactly the way he did, and it's brilliant. I was like, oh, he's that sick. But yeah, Kurosawa, man, it's all over Star Wars. It's insane.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's move into a little intermission.
Okay.
And we got something new for the intermission. We got some trivia for you, which we're gonna quiz each other, and we'll give you guys some time to think before we answer. And I'll also hit you with a streaming recommendation. All right, we got movie release year, and then we got multiple choice trivia questions. So we got 3 of each for each other. So why don't you start out with movie release, and I'll start out with the trivia.
Okay. This is so. When we were going back and forth about what to do today, I sent Dom a link for the very first Flash Gordon serial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in what year was Flash Gordon first adapted to film?
36.
Yes, it's apparently not a multiple choice question.
The years I
Yeah.
didn't give you multiple choice.
Oh,
I only
okay.
did for the trivia.
Oh, okay, that's
you
good
got-
then.
hey,
That's good.
Nah, you gotta know these.
No,
years,
no,
man.
no. You're absolutely correct. And why would that be significant?
Of when Flash Gordon came out?
Yeah. Because it was actually, believe it or not, only 2 years after the comic strip.
Oh wow!
It was that popular
wow.
that it was that quick of a turnaround to get more out there.
That's crazy because back then it took forever to adapt stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, what'd you say? John Carter came on the 1890, or War of the Worlds came on the 1890s.
Yeah, and
That's
the
insane.
and the film was the 50s.
50s. That's what I was
Yeah.
like. It took forever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. So yeah, that's nuts. All right, what else you got? I'll hit you with mine all at once. You give me all yours.
Okay, here's a question that's I need a little background first. So after Flash Gordon, became popular in the comic strip, and they didn't do the John Carter comic.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, his son, John Coleman Burroughs, was an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he eventually adapted at least A Princess of Mars into a comic strip successfully for a few years. On what infamous day in history did John Coleman Burroughs debut his comic strip adaptation of John Carter? And the answer is sort of in the question. What infamous day in history?
D-Day?
No, D-Day was not the day that would live in infamy.
No.
But there is a day.
Shit. I should know this.
You should, because you're a Michael Bay fan.
Should. Oh, 4th of July?
No,
I'm tripping. Wait, I'm a Michael Bay fan.
Wait, what terrible historical film did Michael Bay direct? I call it Saving Private Titanic.
Oh my God, Pearl Harbor.
So
it was December 7th.
Yes, 1941.
Okay,
yes,
my bad. I definitely got that. My brain is fried.
It's
guys.
It's all right.
I used all my brain cells at the gym. All right, what else you got?
Okay, so Flash Gordon, the film version, Buster Crabbe, came out in 1936, and then I think 37 and 38 they did sequels.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starred as Buck Rogers. So in what year did Buster Crabbe eventually star as Buck Rogers after being Flash Gordon?
This is going to be a shot in the dark. But I'm going to go at 1943.
1939.
Oh, man, a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Quick turnaround. He was in high demand.
He was. And if you think about it, so from like 36 to, we'll say till 40, he starred in at least 4 incredibly influential movie serials that helped lay the groundwork for what Star Wars would become.
Wow. Hey.
And
Buster Crabbe, man. George Lucas should send his family a Christmas gift every year.
He should. And I have a couple more questions for other things. I shouldn't.
Well, we'll save them for the trivia.
I will. And
those are your date questions. So.
Right. Okay.
Yes. All right. So I got 3 movie release years for you.
Okay.
We discussed this last night because I was watching it, but I actually had it on here before I decided to even watching it. Barbarella.
Oh, was that 1968?
Yes, it is. Look at
great film.
Great film with a great actress, Jane Fonda. If you hear this, hit me up. All right. The first Ghostbusters.
1984.
God, too good.
Oh my God. What a great film.
You might sweep this.
What a great film.
Great film, man.
Oh my God. Bill Murray. The only crazy part about that is, besides my elbow cracking, the only crazy part about that is Peter Venkman, the best character, was originally written for John Belushi.
Wow.
But he died.
Yeah.
So Bill Murray got it. Imagine.
Dude, Belushi's career would have been crazy.
Yes, exactly.
His career would have been.
But I don't know if I can imagine Peter Venkman being him. Which is weird because Bill Murray just owned it.
He owns it. But think about John Belushi, John Candy, and Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Those 3 dudes would have been huge had they not died prematurely, man.
Yeah.
Man, 3 heavy dudes that were just great in everything they were in, man. Like, even Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
it's not a great film, but he made it.
Yeah,
him and Dan made it workable.
Well, it's because they were on a mission from Gad.
From Gad, we're on a mission from Gad. I was dying when I was watching that.
Carrie Fisher's in that film.
Yes, she is.
Yes,
listen, Carrie Fisher. She's in a good Woody Allen film called Hannah and Her Sisters, too. And you know what else she's in? A movie I freaking do not like that everyone else loves. When Harry Met Sally.
Oh,
and Carrie Fisher is probably the best character in that movie.
That's one of Rob Reiner's, not one of, one of his most popular.
He directed that.
Yeah, he did direct that. Because that was his mom that said, I'll have what she's having.
Yes. Okay.
So
Rob Reiner is amazing.
He is amazing.
That's his worst film then. In which, if that's your worst film,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
dude,
still not bad.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, you're doing great. Why didn't he? Because this is Spinal Tap.
Oh my God.
A Few Good Men and Stand By Me, all bona fide classics.
The Princess Bride.
He did do. Bro,
Yes.
He's goated.
Misery.
He did do freaking Misery.
Yes.
Okay, Rob Reiner may be the most underrated director of all time.
Yeah.
Misery is so good. He pulled the sickest performance out of Kathy Bates.
He did.
That woman had me scared, bro. Annie Wilkes. Oh.
Yeah, he's done so many great films, and there was one. It was an early John Cusack movie. I think he directed right after Spinal Tap. Because Savage Steve Holland did like Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer.
Mm-hmm. One Crazy Summer is great.
Yeah, but I can't remember. But he did one of those in between like Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride. But then after that, it's all gold.
Went on a run. Yeah, he just went on a run.
Yeah.
All right, you'll probably sweep this. I had to do a Wars movie for today. I had a different movie, but I changed it. Revenge of the Sith.
2005.
God, clean sweep,
Yes.
man. He did great.
Yes.
Oh.
Wow.
All right. What trivia questions you got for me?
I think
actually, no, I'll lead these off.
Okay.
Random.
That's good.
All right, so I got 3 for you. They're multiple choice. Okay, what famous actor has a funny cameo in Tropic Thunder? Now, let me give you the choices, even if you know it, for the people listening.
Okay, I've never seen Tropic Thunder.
Oh, my Lord.
Okay, so you might have to repeat the question for me.
I can't believe
I know.
you've seen Tropic Thunder.
I know.
It's so funny. It's probably the best directed Ben Stiller movie. Or Zoolander, I don't know. God, Ben Stiller.
Reality Bites wasn't bad. Didn't he do Reality
He
Bites?
did, yeah, it wasn't but it ain't better than Zoolander.
No,
Thunder.
Zoolander was pretty good.
All right. What famous actor has a funny cameo in Tropic Thunder?
Okay.
A. Daniel Craig. B. Tom Cruise. C. Brad Pitt. Or D. Liam Neeson.
Tom Cruise.
Tommy Cruise. Tommy Cruise. And
Wow.
he's hilarious. You need to watch that movie.
Because I remember there was, I forget if it was on like an MTV Movie Awards, but I believe Ben Stiller did a sketch with Tom Cruise where he was like his stunt double or something.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was incredible because Ben Stiller, like on the Ben Stiller show when it was on,
Mhm.
he's very good at impressions.
Yeah.
He's incredible. So he's never been like a comedian,
Mhm.
but he's a great like sketch player and an impressionist, and he does a great Tom Cruise.
Wow.
So-
Benny's the man. I love Ben Stiller, bro. Meet the Parents. Bro, one of my favorites. He's so funny in that. All right. Here's one. I hope this one stumps you. All right. How many features has De Niro and Scorsese done together?
Oh my God.
Hold on. You got choices.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm starting to think.
Oh.
The wheels are turning. I know of at least
Turn.
one. I know of at least two.
You should know of at least 2.
Yeah.
A, 5, B, 7, C, 9, or D, 11.
All right. Because I'm assuming it probably started with Taxi Driver, unless there was another one before that.
There is
Mean Streets?
Mean Streets.
Okay, so you have what? You have Mean Streets, you have Taxi Driver, you have The King of Comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You have The Irishman just came out.
That's new.
Yeah, that's newer.
Great film.
What, Casino would be one of them?
You're forgetting such an obvious one. I'm shocked you didn't throw out.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Like 2 kind of obvious ones.
The one with Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the one.
Yeah, which I can't think of at the moment.
Insane. It's probably
the most
best movie.
Yeah, the most famous one.
Come on. As long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Oh my God, Henry Hill.
Henry, you know
I know.
the title character.
I know, and I can't think of Goodfellas.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
I was like, come on, man.
You know what? I might have to say 11 because there's so many there. Or is it 9?
It is 9.
Oh.
It is 9.
Wow.
They've done 9 features and 1 short film.
Wow. Well, wait. Didn't Scorsese produce Joker?
Does he have a Scorsese? Does he have a producer credit? Let's see.
I think he might.
He should. I mean, you
it's basically a Scorsese
took two
film.
of his movies and combined them.
Yeah.
And added a great actor and got all kinds of money and Oscars, and he got nothing back in the day.
It's like,
Dude didn't. Bro, Rocky won Best Picture over Taxi Driver. Let that sink in.
Wow.
It won over All the President's Men. Let
Wow.
that sink in.
And that's Redford and Dustin
And
Hoffman.
Dusty, man. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let's see if he produced that.
All the President's Men. Isn't that about James Buchanan's lovers?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. Oh. Oh.
That's
my.
a good one. Did he produce the Joker? I hope he did. I hope he got some money for it.
I thought I read somewhere that he did around the time it was coming out, because that's why Todd Phillips had kind of changed his style.
Nope. He
Really?
was originally slated to be an executive producer
Yes.
when Leonardo was in talks of the lead. When he
Oh.
wasn't going to play the lead, he went and did The Irishman.
Oh my God. Wow.
Mhm. Yep. But I'm shocked.
So 9 it is.
Yep. I'm shocked you didn't name Raging Bull.
Oh God.
That's the one.
Raging
I was
Bull,
shocked
that's
you-
a great
so
film.
good.
Oh my God, Kathy Moriarty,
Mhm.
Joe Pesci.
Joe P, man.
Oh,
Evil.
God.
They were Robert was man.
Yeah.
Well deserved Oscar.
My God, that was a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now I'm a little upset at myself, because that is an obvious one.
Yeah, that's that.
If only 3, it would be Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and Raging Bull.
Goodfellas. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you didn't get you got some of the deep cuts like Mean Streets and King of Comedy.
Yeah,
No one's
like-
seen King of Comedy. Like,
Oh.
so I was like, oh,
You have to be a Jerry Lewis fan
Yes,
to care about the King
and I
of
love
Comedy.
that he plays himself.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
Okay.
How many? Gotta keep it somewhat wars related. How many films has George Lucas directed? Let
Okay.
me give you your choices.
Okay.
A, 6, B, 8, C, 4, or D, 7.
Okay. I'm gonna just do a quick list
Mm-hmm.
of the ones I know. THX,
Yep.
which was his first one,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the THX company, the name comes
Mhm.
from. I think there's some numbers after it, but it's
there are some numbers.
yeah,
after
but just
it.
because
It-
Robert Duvall,
yeah. I mean, you just call it THX.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
THX, American Graffiti,
Mm-hmm.
New Hope,
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Menace,
Mm-hmm.
Attack of the Clones,
Mhm.
and Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Was 5 one of the answers?
No, it was not.
Was
But
what?
how many fingers am I holding?
Oh,
up?
6. Oh my God. You're holding up 6. I'm like, is 5 one of the? Oh my God, you said 6. 6. Are those the only 6 he directed?
Yep.
Wow.
So it was 6. Yep. You got
Wow.
it.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't it nuts? The dude, I don't think he liked directing. He says a pain in the ass. He likes doing this behind the scenes. He likes making stuff, writing,
Yeah.
sound.
Well, he's a great idea man.
absolutely
Because look at the Indiana Jones movie.
dude. I was like, he wrote a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Willow.
Oh, that's right, Willow, yeah.
he's been involved in a lot more projects than people realize because he helped write Land Before Time.
Did he?
Yeah,
Wow.
George is involved.
Wow, Littlefoot.
He's a behind the scenes man, and I'm like, dude, Industrial Light and Sound, man, they
They've
changed
done-
the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I was going to say behind the scenes, he's done more.
Yes, I'm like, what because I'm like, I wouldn't call him one of the best directors of all time, but definitely one of the best film aficionado filmmakers. Like, just a guy you would love to have in the room while if you're making something sci-fi action weird. If he's in the room, that's a good guy to have in the room.
Without him, James Cameron would probably be nothing.
Dude, James
Yeah.
Cameron, come on. But we can
Yeah.
also say without Stanley Kubrick,
Yeah,
these
that's
dudes
true.
would be nothing.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you
true.
can ask Lucas, Spielberg, any of them, James Cameron, they're like, bro, 2001 was a game. Even Scorsese was like, bro, I was heavily influenced by 2001.
And by that, but going off of that, we could also say without Jerry Lewis, because I believe he taught a lot of these guys when they were going to UCLA, because he taught a film class
Really?
when they were younger.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of them, like Scorsese, I think Lucas, Coppola,
Lucas,
Spielberg,
Coppola,
I believe.
Spielberg, I believe they all were at USC at the same time.
And I think Jerry Lewis was teaching film there.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Because a lot of them, I read that before. I was reading a lot about Jerry Lewis. I got really into him for a while because I realized how influential he was in like film editing. Because once he started directing, like when he would star with Dean Martin and a co-star with Dean Martin and then do his own films, he really paid attention to what the directors did. So he's the guy who essentially created like VHS tapes so you could like watch back on set like what you just did.
So
and know how to
dailies.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Wow.
He
didn't know
like,
that.
like the technology came from him wanting to know more and be better at what he did.
Wow.
And then he would teach, like he's really serious about his art, even if he doesn't seem like a serious actor.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's probably another guy like, acting's whatever. I want to be a part of the creative process.
Yes.
You know, like just like George is like directing's whatever, but I want to create the story and all the stuff that goes in it. I don't want to, you know, like it's funny if you listen to like Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, any of them dudes talk about him directing A New Hope. They're like, bro, that dude just was like, you could just tell he didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
They were
like,
like,
what, in like Tunisia?
Yeah, they were
like
all
sand
over
in your ass crack.
And they were like,
what?
And he's like, bro, he's like, Harrison and Mark were a pain in the ass. They were goofing off like little kids the whole time until Alec Guinness would show up. Then they get all serious. Oh, man, the real actor's here.
Yeah. Well, Sir Alec Guinness.
Yeah, bro. I'm like, look, if Alec Guinness is like, all right, Dom, you got to do a scene with Alec Guinness. I'm like, okay. Slap myself in the face, like splash some water on me. Like, okay. Take a couple deep breaths. Because that dude's, just look at A Bridge on a River Kwai. Like, my Lord. That performance, he was A1. And crazy thing is, Alec Guinness, his family's still getting paid off A New Hope because he required back in.
Oh, wow.
I think he got like 3% or something like that.
Wow.
So, and he got a nice up front. So he made more money off Star Wars, a film he did not want to do at all, than everything he did up until that point. Wow. So I'm like, bro, sometimes you got to take one for the team.
And also, like, you got to think like action figures, like his likeness.
Oh my God.
And everything. Yeah.
That's I'm like, dude, his family's still collecting Star Wars checks. Funny thing is, so Spielberg still getting cuts of A New Hope. So when George Lucas made A New Hope and it was done, he brought all his homies to the crib. Was like, yo, we gonna watch my movie. They were like, all right, bet. They watched the movie and everyone hated it.
Really?
Except Steven.
Really?
Yep. And George was about to cry and he was not feeling good. And Steven pulled him aside and was like, bro, you got something on your hands here. And he's like, dude, I wish I was making your movie Close Encounters. And he's like, bro, that movie's going to be whatever. But he's like, dude, I think this joint's going to change the game. And he's like, yeah. He's like, so much so, bro, that look, how about we make a trade? Give me 2% of A New Hope. I'll give you 2% of Close Encounters for life. Sell me a small percentage. Give me a small percentage of the rights. So he said, fine. And Steven made the right move.
Wow.
Because A New Hope.
Yeah.
Bro, if you adjust A New Hope for inflation, that movie's made a lot of money. So,
and with re-releases and everything too.
Oh my God. And, it's probably, I think, in its theatrical run, I want to say it made, 700 million? And that's crazy.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jaws was number one, and it made like a little over $500 million, I think. And then Star Wars took it over with like 700 million.
And think back then, movie tickets were probably
they were cheap,
like $1.
$2?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, dude, cheap.
Maybe, yeah. So,
so
but then, it's before home video, before all that stuff. So if you wanted to see it, so I think films had a longer life.
People went and saw it 7-8 times. Yeah. Like, bro, I met a close family friend of ours. He's an older guy. He was like, dude, he said, I took off work, went and saw it like, I don't know, like noon. He's like, by myself. He said, I saw that. He said, bro, I was blown away. He said I went back 2 more times that week, bro.
Wow.
He was like, he's like, I went with some friends and then I went by myself again. I'm like, that's crazy. So yeah, people went and saw it 100 times.
And I guess that's kind of the draw of it, though. Like at the time, I mean, now it doesn't seem as new, obviously, because it's 46 years later.
Yeah.
But at the time,
nothing like it, bro.
It was familiar, but it was new and different.
It was how he described it. He was like, dude, he was like, at the time, there was nothing really out like that. He was like, it was so different. He's like, I felt like I was in space for 2 hours. He was like, you're just locked in, and everybody in there was the same way. Just like, you could just tell people were witnessing something they just didn't even know how to process at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, but we knew it was special. He's like, I was like, man, I can't wait. And then going to see The Empire Strikes Back, he was like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking back, I was like, I couldn't imagine going to see A New Hope in 77, waiting 3 years, then going to see Empire. Like, that would be
the longest 3 years of your life.
Years of your life. I was like, that's insane. So, but you got questions for me?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Hold on. They're sort of based on what I was talking about anyway. So before I go into these questions, it's interesting because he said there was nothing like that in 77. But the influence of it after that, suddenly you had like Battlestar Galactica, which I think the original series was designed by Ralph McQuarrie, the same guy who designed Star Wars.
Wow, okay.
And,
well, I mean, everybody who worked on it, I'm sure, was on for hire.
And then Buck Rogers was redone as a TV show. They did a TV movie first, and then a TV show for at least 2 seasons with Gil Gerard. And our man Buster Crabbe actually guest starred in an episode or 2.
Wow. He got a lot of work, man.
It's just crazy. Okay, so I was talking about John Carter.
Mm-hmm.
So, in what year was John Carter first published? Okay, I'll give you a couple of...
Do I have some choices?
Yeah, you do have some choices. Okay.
I have an idea in my head.
Okay. 1901.
Uh-huh.
1912.
Mm-hmm.
1917.
Mm-hmm.
Or 1920? 1912.
Damn.
Yeah.
I thought it was 20. 20 was like what I had in my head. Damn.
So now, what year was John Carter first adapted to film?
First adapted to film.
To film. It is the first adaptation other than, obviously, the comic strip, which we already went over, is 1941. And they did comic books after that and the novels.
Is it the 2012 one?
I don't have to give him any choices. Yes.
Yeah, I was
it took 100 years.
That's crazy.
To adapt John Carter to film, even though it helped usher in this whole era that led to Star Wars.
Which is crazy because, like, Stephen King writes a book and people are like ready to buy the film rights before it even comes out.
Yeah, as soon as the ink drops.
Yeah, they're like, all right, it's out. Okay, how much for the film rights? We didn't even read it yet.
Yeah, I had an idea while I took a dump. They're like, okay, I'm going to option it right now.
We'll give you $10 million. What's good, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, it took 100 years.
And we may never get another one.
No, which is sad because for the time it was a good series. For like the and how innovative it was in showing aliens and different things that, like, in sort of I want to say putting a face on the unknown, because we still don't know.
Yeah.
So think about Star Wars, like all those alien ideas had to come from somewhere. So so all those people that worked on it were influenced by all these things over the years that helped them be creative.
I think the Flash Gordon, the aliens influence, like with the giant lizards and just random stuff around. I'm like, this is so random, but kind of like Star Wars, just random creatures be around, big, small, like randomly pop up. You're like, oh, what the hell is that? Now, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
You did read Dune the novel, right?
A long long time ago.
But you've seen David Lynch's film,
Yes.
which I haven't. That's like I think that's like one. I have to watch that in Twin Peaks. It's like the only Lynch stuff I haven't seen. Would you say that Dune had an influence on Star Wars?
You know what? I would say yes, because think about most of Dune takes place on kind of a desert
planet. Yeah.
I mean, and
they mine spice, just like they do in Star Wars later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they didn't they? Was that like The Last Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the red stuff right on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Spice is big. Spice is a Star Wars thing too.
Yeah, and think about it, like, you know, you have House Atreides and House Harkonnen, sort of like, you know, the good and the evil.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Paul is kind of like a Lukey type character.
Yeah, and actually, Dune, was that first published like in the 60s?
The 60s, I believe.
Yeah, I want to say 64, but I might just be thinking of 84 because that's when the Lynch film came out.
I feel like because I feel like Dune, it's 60s. You're right, it is 60s. I'm pretty sure it's 60s.
Because, you know, the 60s was rife with creativity, and I don't know if it was the drugs,
definitely partly,
or something else. Let me see.
60s definitely was littered with creativity across all mediums.
Let's see. Dune by Frank Herbert. 65. I said 64. Yeah.
I feel like George Lucas read Dune, watched Lawrence of Arabia, and got a vision in his head for Tatooine.
Yeah. Because
I didn't read Dune, but I'm like, I've seen a lot of things adapt stuff from Dune.
Yeah.
Like Felicia's movie Phantasm, The Hand in the Box.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like that's Dune. And then, of course, watching the new Dune, which is incredible, by the way. I don't care what anyone says.
I do have to see it because part 2 is coming out.
Yes. And, bro, that trailer looks so good. I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I love it. I think it was great. And I thought it was going to be, I went into it thinking it was going to be terrible. And I was very, very wrong. But then I should have looked at who's directing and been like, it's going to at least be decent.
Blade Runner 2049.
One of the best sci-fi movies ever made.
Yeah.
Bro, Prisoners.
Oh my God. Yeah. With Hugh Jackman and Paul Dano.
Yeah.
And Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Wow.
He's a rival, man. He's a monster. So yeah, he's sick. But I do think Lawrence of Arabia, because I know Spielberg said David Lean was his favorite director, and Lawrence is his favorite movie. And he was like, bro, it influenced me crazy. But if you look at the way the dunes are and everything, the way they shot Lawrence of Arabia, bro, you can't watch Tatooine and say he wasn't watching this movie, man. So yeah, what? Did you have another question for me?
I think I did, but I got off track because I was then thinking of the French comic strip of Valerian and Laureline, which I know influenced, at least visually, some aspects of Star Wars, because there's characters and ships in there. Like there's a character who sort of vaguely looks like Darth Vader. But the comic, it's a French comic. It was around before Star Wars.
Oh.
And there's ships that kind of look like either the Millennium Falcon or something else. So you know that like the production designers at least were influenced. Yeah.
Because I'm like, because when you're pulling out all these influences, I'm like, dude, Lucas was watching and reading stuff, thinking about this.
And that's what you have to do, I think, as a creator, because, you know, they always say there's nothing new out there.
New.
And there's a line, I heard it in there's a trailer for a new film about a writer, and there's like some guy that comes to like watch his kid. I forget the name of the film, and it's an independent film that's coming out. I saw it before Mafia Mama, so I blocked out most of it.
Your favorite film of 2023?
Yes, the best.
Probably better than Morbius.
It's in a lot of ways, yes. In a lot of ways, yes. But this writer, he says that like something about like good writers steal, you know, like they just take from other writers and other influences, but I think they end up making them better.
Make it their own.
Yeah, they make it their own and they make it better. They add to it. It's not just ripping it off.
I'm gonna tell you right now, all the best filmmakers and films we idolize we can go and easily pull out their influences. One thing I liked about George Lucas, he never hid any of his. He was very open about all the things that influenced Star Wars. And like he even said, he's like, bro, my first script was even more close to Hidden Fortress, but I had to add Han and Chewie and I had to switch some stuff. It was just so close. And I like how he just, shamelessly just admits that. Same with Tarantino. Tarantino will tell you all day. He's like, bro, yeah, I was watching Sergio Leone, so I stole this from him.
Yeah.
I was watching this dude, I stole that from him. He'll tell you all day. Christopher Nolan. Everyone's like, oh, Inception's a masterpiece. Bro, it's a ripoff of Paprika. It's an anime film from 2011. And
Really?
It's amazing, bro. Paprika is awesome. Dude, it's the same concept. There's an entire scene he ripped. The hotel scene when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's running through the hallway fighting the dude. Bro, he totally, took it right out of this cartoon.
Really?
Took it right out of it. Yeah.
Wow.
And he admitted it. He's like, yeah, man, Paprika was a big influence. Love that movie. And it's the same thing. It's dreams. These people are dreaming. And their dreams, people are going in and doing stuff. Now, he did make it his own, making it a heist movie and then making it like a film production where each character played a role in creating this film, which I thought that was a great spin and take on it, which made the film digestible for people who were confused. A lot of people were like, oh, the movie's too confusing. I'm like, bro, if you just pay attention, it's not. Like, just watch. It's not like Tenet. Tenet is confusing, but Inception isn't. But yeah, I think all the best filmmakers, writers, whatever, they steal, and they admit it. Like Ari Aster, he's like, yeah, man, I was taking stuff from this dude, that dude. Yeah, I was just pulling stuff all out of, just watching stuff, getting ideas, writing them down. So yeah, but do you have any more questions for me?
I do. I have.
Yeah, that's right.
Stuff. Okay. Now another big thing before movie serials were radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
So they did adapt Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon to radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I should ask you first, what year did Buck Rogers make his debut? And I'll give you a couple, because Buck Rogers
on radio?
No, not yet radio. Just in general, like the stories. The stories are the comic strip because they came out around the same time. So was it 1927, 1929, 1931, or 1933?
Oh, I had a year in my head and it ain't one of them.
Oh, wow.
29.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the March 1929 issue of Amazing Stories, which was a pulp magazine. That's when he made his debut. And around the same time, they started the comic strip in January of 29.
Wow. Because
they always have things published. I think they put the month on it like 2 months ahead. So I think they came out concurrently. Yeah.
That's
So knowing that was 1929, in what year was Buck Rogers adapted to radio? 1930, 1931, 1932, or 1933?
Oh man, make it super hard. 32.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty quick adaptation. Yeah. That's a good turnaround.
Yeah, 3-year gap because I don't think they would have had. Because think about, like, 32 would have been even before they did King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think films would have been ready for that type of thing.
They weren't ready for that. Because, like, you had that, like, string of those, like, classic monsters that all came out, like, in the same time. Like, King Kong, Dracula, Frankenstein. Like, all those dudes dropped, like, pretty close
together.
The
Mummy.
Yeah, the Mummy. Yeah, all of those were pretty close. What, like,
I think from 30 to, like, 35.
30 to 35.
Yeah.
Close. So, yeah, I mean, I think the world was getting very adapted to these very strange, different characters. So, yeah, that fits with the time period for sure.
And now there was also a Flash Gordon radio show.
Oh, Lord.
Now, if you recall...
Real quick, what did they just read? What did they just talk about it or what?
Have you ever listened to, like, old radio shows?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so radio shows were kind of incredible because, before you had TV, widespread, even though the first television broadcast was, I think, in 1929, and it was Felix the Cat on a turntable, just rotating,
Nice.
like a stuffed Felix. So, but TV didn't come into prevalence till like the mid to late 40s, and then especially in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So before that, you just had radio, which came out earlier in the 20s. So for radio shows, they would just sometimes have a narrator setting up a scene, and then people just talking back and forth, and sound effects for whatever could be going on. So you had like the Shadow, the Green Hornet, Superman had a radio show.
Superman probably had one.
Yeah.
Did Batman have one too?
Actually, Batman didn't, but he guest starred in a few episodes of the Superman show.
Nice.
Yeah. And they were really popular until the 50s, until TV really took off.
Yeah. And then
So that's sort of how they set it up. They set it up so it's almost
set the stage and then kind of run dialogue.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then and you can imagine in your head then what's going on just by hearing
Yeah,
it. So
it's just like a book on tape.
Yes.
Book on tape, essentially.
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
All right. Nice.
So Flash Gordon, we know the comic strip came out in 34, January 34.
The first serial was 36.
First series was 36. So in what year was it adapted to radio? Was it 34, 35, 36, or 37?
I'm gonna say 34.
It was actually 35.
35. That would have.
But
I was like,
it was a quicker turnaround than Buck Rogers.
yeah, I'm like that.
It was about a year.
Yeah, because I was thinking. So I went with 34, thinking let me give him 2 years to turn it around because they said one is all we need. So Flash Gordon must have been a good one.
Yeah. So it's like I think it shows something about popular culture of the time and how comic strips used to be a big deal. That used to be an artist's goal was to be a comic strip artist.
Wow.
Because even the guys who created Superman wanted it to be a comic strip first, and they got rejected by everybody.
Wow.
And then after it became a popular comic book, all the syndicates were like, "Hey, let's make a comic strip out of this."
And you're like, I'm gonna roll with the books now.
They did though.
They made a strip.
Yeah, because that was their original goal, and
they're
it's
like, yes, we finally get a strip, even though the books are going to be better.
Yeah, and it was the first time though that they did a longer story of what happened on Krypton before it exploded.
You mean Krypton?
Krypton, yes. I'm sorry, as Marlon Brando would say, Krypton. So it's just interesting to look at it that way because after Star Wars came out, they had a comic strip.
Yep.
They had comic books. They had
novels. Merchandising for Star Wars was insane, man. So much money. Dude, Lucas was like, man, I'm making so much money off freaking merchandise. It's not even funny. That's crazy.
And I've really just asked those questions to try to lay that. I keep saying about laying a foundation because that's what it was, because all these things then were just in the public consciousness so much that growing up, like George Lucas couldn't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we got Star Wars.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because of all these contributions of all these other writers and artists and actors.
Damn.
Yeah. The only time you want to get crabs is Buster Crabs.
Buster. And I was like, I just want to bust and I want to bust him. Well, man, the intermission went long, but it actually tied in very well, which is good. I think we got to talk about what it has influenced, though, now.
Oh, okay. Since.
Because I think we broke down where it came from pretty well. But it took the world by storm, man. Like, almost like nothing else. Like, what can you think of that really hit the streets this hard, like as hard as Star Wars did?
I think because of Star Wars, and we may have touched upon this previously, not today, although you did mention it. Superman the movie was severely influenced.
That was like right after, right?
It was a year and a half later.
Yeah, I was like, that was right after.
So I think that was really the first thing that it influenced, like how it was marketed, how they did the special effects, especially, and how the impact it ended up having was probably just as important at the time because it filled in a gap left by Star Wars before Empire. Yeah.
Because I mean, I could only imagine, because stuff didn't come out as frequently as it does now. Yeah. I can only imagine after May 25th, 77, people were like, oh man, what's next? We're gonna have to wait another 2, 3, 4 years to get something good. But you got Superman pretty quick after that, and I mean, Superman definitely stacks up with Star Wars, with A New Hope at least for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that had to be a major influence because, like, what else? Like, sci-fi really got going after Star Wars.
Yeah, Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
the Sam Jones one. Yes,
Sam Jones.
Yes. The
Death to Ming.
Yeah, the campy version.
Yes.
the Max von Sydow Ming the Merciless.
Yes, fun.
Yes.
Yeah, Flash Gordon. They were like, yo, this work. It's very actually, yeah, it is heavy influence. And then you had, I mean, Spielberg's got to say, like, man, hey, Star Wars influenced me. I think it directly influenced, even though obviously the people who were involved were created Indiana Jones, but I think it directly influenced Indiana Jones and this kind of serial style.
Yes.
Of we can make this dope adventure movie, just change the setting and, you know, make him a whip cracker instead of a saber swinger, and we got another serial type movie that can work, and the formula worked 3 times.
And those were the 2 type of heroes. You had like sci-fi heroes or like regular guys, especially in the 40s. You're fighting Nazis mostly.
Nazis, yeah, it's always Nazis. And
so
Spielberg loves fighting Nazis.
He does.
Like,
that's probably his second favorite pastime.
And
making movies being the first.
I understand. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I get it. Did you watch Fabelmans yet?
I have not. No,
bro, you gotta watch.
I do have to see it. Yeah,
it's good. It's a
great cast. I know that,
bro. Michelle Williams, A1. Like, I was so when I was watching it, I was like, she's gonna get an Oscar nom for this, and she did. I knew she wouldn't win, but I was like, she'll get the nom. But Paul Dano, man, that dude, he is way better than I think people give him credit for, because he always plays a villainy, weird, trippy dude.
Yeah.
Nice, straight-laced father figure in this, clean cut. Kills it.
First thing I think I ever saw him in was Little Miss Sunshine.
Yep,
I think he's the older brother.
Thing. No, that was not the first. I saw him in a Emile Hirsch movie called The Girl Next Door.
Oh,
and
okay.
He's one of his friends in there, and he's pretty funny in there. And then I saw Little Miss Sunshine. Great cast, Toni Collette, man. You know, she's amazing.
Mafia Mama.
Mm-hmm. She's in that.
She's the main person.
That's what I was like, bro. It's Toni Collette.
Yeah,
she probably made it watchable.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Believe it or not, it's a good popcorn.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you probably chuckled a couple times.
It's more like a date movie.
Exactly.
So you're not going to go see it on your own.
No, you're not. It's definitely a date night film.
Yeah. And it's not like, hey guys, let's go see Mafia Mama.
Yeah,
no,
it's like, yo, bros, y'all trying to go see Mafia Mama?
Yeah,
like,
no, not at all.
But yeah, she's great. But yeah, man, the influence, it's all over.
Oh yeah, The Last Starfighter. That's an '80s film that came out.
Never watched it.
It's you remember the Clerks animated episode where Randall is playing a video game and then he gets like recruited, but they kind of turn it into like Temple of Doom.
Yes.
I think that's what happens in The Last Starfighter. It's been a long time.
Wow.
But like, you know, some kid's playing a video game or some guy and he's really good at it and he gets recruited to like fly a spaceship and fight somebody.
Luke,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, basically.
That's pretty much what Luke did. I mean, I think it just influenced a big spark in sci-fi content because, dude, you had like, think about all the sci-fi movies that came out in the 80s. Like, you weren't getting you had before Star Wars, you had like what 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And the old ones like Day the Earth Stood Still, Metropolis, like you had stuff like that.
Yeah.
But War of the Worlds, but like you didn't have nothing like on the scale Star Wars was doing because right after Star Wars, another big one was Alien.
Oh, so yeah, that's right.
Alien. And then,
because Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Blade Runner.
Scott, I was like, he definitely was influenced by Star Wars with Blade Runner. The umbrellas that people carry look like lightsabers.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, you definitely can see it in there. And then, of course, you get the Terminator coming out in the 80s. You had Starman, Cocoon.
Oh, my God, yeah.
All these good, even some of the lower budgets.
Cocoon, Ron Howard.
Yeah. One of my favorite, like, low-key underground sci-fi movies. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Where Wilfred Brimley looks 90, but
looks
he's 30.
90. Yeah.
No makeup. He looks like he's in his 80s or 90s, and he's 30.
It's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. So good though. That was I never watched the second one though. It looked like it was bad.
I don't know if Ron Howard directed
I
that
don't
or
think
not.
he did. That's
Yeah.
why I had no interest. But
Look, even Short Circuit,
Short Circuit's awesome
because it's an android.
Little
It's a droid.
androids coming.
Yeah,
and,
Johnny
yeah.
5.
Yeah. Short Circuit was good. And
RoboCop.
Of
My God, how could I forget?
RoboCop, man.
Yeah.
RoboCop was a huge one. Obviously, what's his name? Murphy.
Yeah, Alex Murphy.
Alex Murphy, man.
Yeah.
That scene at the
Drop it.
beginning.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Nah, dude, the scene when the freaking weird robot thing shoots that dude on the table and
The
pretty
Ed
much
209.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
that shit gets me every. I'm like,
Well, at the time, Paul Verhoeven, man, he really, I mean, that movie really pushed it for violence and
it
everything.
did,
at the
man.
time.
That's when I first
Clarence
saw
Boddicker,
that,
man, he was
I was
violent.
yeah, my uncle showed me that. I'm like freaking 6 years old.
Oh,
And,
geez.
yeah, bro. And
Wow.
I'm sitting there like, and my grandma's like, "What are you showing this boy?" And he's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Nothing. Yeah, just going back in the kitchen. I'm gonna pop out because my grandma's old house, living room was right into the kitchen. So
Okay.
we'd be out there watching TV. She'd be cooking. She loved to cook. She'd pop out, "What y'all watching?" We're like, we don't want her to pop out watching RoboCop, but she ain't care. She was cool.
But then with Paul Verhoeven, you have later on like Total Recall. You have Sirens.
I was like, "Is that real cops?"
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, the street is heavily traveled when
Yeah, we're
when
right on the main
emergencies.
road.
Yeah.
And it's like getting rush hour.
Yeah,
time.
so he did Total Recall then,
Yeah,
and
that dude.
Starship Troopers.
Listen, Starship Troopers is the best cult sci-fi film. I love that movie. I've seen that movie a million times. Johnny Rico is the man. Okay, Denise Richards in there looking good. That movie is great. The giant bugs, it's funny as hell. Like the weird propaganda-y ads and stuff all over it. The world wasn't ready for Starship Troopers when it came out. I think Starship Troopers was a good 5 to 8 years ahead of its time.
It was what, 97 maybe?
97.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I watched that movie.
Casper Van Dien,
Neil
right?
Patrick Harris.
Neil
Yeah,
Patrick
yep.
Harris, yes.
Dude, there's a lot of people in it. Dude, I watched that movie so much as a kid. It's insane. I've seen that movie probably 40 times.
Wow.
So good. I grew up with it though,
But
That's one of those ones.
clearly, like, and think even Battlefield Earth, as terrible as that movie probably is.
The John Travolta.
Yeah, the John
one.
Travolta one, right? Like, think about how, because I'm thinking of Starship Troopers and Battlefield Earth, even though they came out later after Star Wars, the source material was written before.
Mm-hmm.
So there's even a thing where, like, adapting something older, you have to think in more of like a Star Wars kind of context
Mhm.
because of how it changed our perception of the whole genre.
The whole genre. I'm like, what it takes to make a good sci-fi movie. Because if you think about it, like the best sci-fi movie leading up to Star Wars was 2001.
Yeah.
They're 10 years apart almost.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like that. Star Wars end of the 70s, 2001 60s.
Yeah.
So it's like they're pretty far apart. It's like it took like 8-9 years to get another good sci-fi adaptation, and 2001 wasn't well received when it came out.
Yeah.
People were like, "What the hell is this?" I mean, of course they thought it was visually stunning and
Yeah.
all that, because I still to this day, 2001 still looks. I can't believe how well it still holds up. That ship design is amazing, and all the crap with HAL 9000 just grabs you right in. But I think 2001 was a bit too dark for people, where Star Wars showed how fun sci-fi could be, because I feel like all the sci-fi novels written up to then all had a dark undertone. There wasn't this cool hero with a cool weapon, and you're
Yeah.
having fun, and we're telling jokes, and we got fun things going on, and there's, for a big furry, as she calls it, the walking carpet, Princess Leia calls him. You got Chewbacca, who's a fun furry character, and then obviously by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, you have Ewoks who look like Furbies or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Furbies.
Star Wars set the blueprint that sci-fi could be marketable and could generate revenue. So now you got people like, oh, I'm gonna adapt this old sci-fi novel that came out however long ago. Because
Yeah.
David Lynch probably wouldn't have adapted Dune if Star Wars when it came out and had the success.
That's true. And they wouldn't have given it to David
Yeah,
Lynch.
they would have.
probably.
Yeah, I'm shocked they gave that to David Lynch to direct.
Yeah. Because
just
I think it was after Blue Velvet.
yeah, and Blue Velvet I love Blue Velvet. One of my favorites. Dennis Hopper, that dude is psycho in that movie. But coming off of like that and like Eraserhead, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, I'm just like, that's an interesting guy to
Did he
have
do the
direct-
Elephant Man also?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, he coming off of what he was coming off of,
Yeah.
it just didn't seem like a fit. But I gotta watch it because now it's a super cult classic.
So now I'm thinking, because I was just thinking about like what was popular sci-fi before Star Wars. So I'm thinking Star Wars somehow took like all the Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers stuff and the 2001, kind of like the design work of 2001,
Mhm.
and mashed them together into
Yep.
something perfect.
Yep.
But before that, you had Star Trek, the 60s
Yeah,
Star Trek.
was out.
And you had on Across the Ocean, you had Doctor Who. From
Huge show, man.
yeah,
Wow.
so-
Doctor Who. Did you watch Doctor Who?
I
Are you a fan?
believe it or not, when I was a kid, the Fourth Doctor, the one with like I at the time I probably would have thought it was an afro because he just had like curly, even though he's a white guy, he had like the curly hair
the
and
Bob Ross going on.
yeah, he had the Bob Ross and the long scarf
Okay.
and the trench coat. So
Okay.
so the Tom Baker version is what I remember as a kid, and then when I got older, I got into like, let's say the 12th Doctor, which is Peter Capaldi. He was pretty good because he was older. And then it took me back to the original William Hartnell version from '63. Cheesy, terrible to watch now, but they're great because it's a cranky old guy with like young people on weird adventures.
That's fun. That's
Yeah.
always fun. And I mean, that's a huge trope, especially going through the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
The cranky old guy befriends some little ass kids and they go on
Yes.
some kind of adventure.
yeah.
And
Isn't that Up?
That's up.
Yeah,
That's definitely up. And that's absolutely
That's what's up.
Yep, that's what's up. You are my master.
So like I think about those, and then how like after Star Wars, how that influenced like, let's say, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so even though Star Trek was around first, even they were influenced by not only the technological advances that Star Wars did, George Lucas did because of Star Wars, but also probably like the storytelling and where they can go with aliens now.
Yeah.
And
because Star Trek had a strong built-in fan base
Yeah.
already, but I think even they saw like, bro, we could lose some fans if this Star Wars crap takes off too much.
Yeah.
Because I mean to be, because Trekkies are Trekkies, bro, and Warheads are Warheads. Like if you like, you can appreciate the other ones, but it's just like in Clerks 2. Like I saw a meme today, and it was freaking Randall sitting at the table like, what's the YouTube guy's name that changed my mind, dude?
Oh yeah,
What the hell is his name?
I know what you mean though.
Steven Crowder.
Okay.
They photoshopped him, and it's like there's only one return, and it's not of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Changed my mind, and I laugh so hard because I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm in that club. I'm sorry, I don't love the Lord of the Rings films. They're good, they're okay, and I definitely think they contributed to cinema. And Peter Jackson did his thing, especially when they came out. They just ain't my favorites. And I just don't think they can. I don't think the Lord of the Rings trilogy, my personal opinion, I don't think it stacks up with the OT as far as entertainment value.
So, would you think then that Peter Jackson would have been influenced by what George Lucas was able to do with Star Wars?
Oh yeah. I mean, coming up with the 3-part trilogy, and it
Yeah.
does play very similar.
And
Bro,
and the balance of the characters and the storylines.
Fellowship flows like A New Hope. Two Towers moves like a snail. It definitely doesn't flow like Empire. Two Towers is so boring. But Return of the King, I do think Return of the King is a really good film. That's the best one by far. But Return of the King does have that triumphant Return of the Jedi feel. And I mean, look at the freaking titles.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, there's good stuff in every Lord of the Rings movies. Like, I like the Shire and the Fellowship. That stuff was all fun. And you're chilling with Gandalf smoking big old pipes and like they're getting high and all this stuff. I'm like, bro, they're actually getting stoned. And you know, you're in all these miniature hobbit houses and they're cool and fun. As soon as they get the Shire, man, it's just like, Two Towers, you got the walking trees. What do they call Ents? They're cool. That's a fun little part. But then, you know, Frodo gets increasingly annoying. And Frodo was the most infuriating antagonist I think, or protagonist I've ever seen. I'm like, I can't stand him. Now, Return of the King does pick it up, and I think it does have a real strong third act, like Return of the Jedi does. But you can't tell me Peter Jackson didn't take the blueprint of what worked with the OT and applied it to
Lord of the Rings. So I just realized the one film that was probably severely influenced by Star Wars that
Ant-Man and the Quantum.
Quantumania, definitely Quantumania. But we won't talk about that, and we probably won't even go into Guardians yet, because obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy films take place in space, and Star-Lord is essentially
Guardians Han Solo. Really feels like
Star Wars it does, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But and they even have a Christmas special, and Star Wars had a Christmas special way back when.
Well, we won't talk.
No, not at all. But Luc Besson, I'm probably mispronouncing his name. The director.
Mm-hmm. Fifth Element.
Yes. Yes. Even though it's
huge influence, it had to be.
Even though it's based on, I think the Incal. I'm probably mispronouncing that too because I'm not French, but it's another comic book, and that he was really influenced by. But you could tell in the filmmaking, Ian Holm in that movie is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Dude, just look at look how the speeders drive through the city.
Yes.
Like the way the aliens are and all, bro, it was definitely influenced by Star Wars. And, you know, Bruce kind of plays a Obi-Wan type of character, taking care of the girl.
Oh, he does,
pass, you know.
Yeah.
And Mila Jovovich. Whew. That film, bro, that red hair, you know.
Oh, she's a redhead.
She killed me in that one, man. I was like, oh man. And you know what's crazy? Her daughter is about to be in the new Peter Pan and Wendy.
Yeah,
dude, she looks just like her.
Really,
it's crazy. She looks just like her. It's crazy. I was like, holy hell, that's definitely her daughter.
Wow,
it's crazy. But yeah, The Fifth Element, and he's a great filmmaker. Young Luke, bro, you know, Leon the Professional.
Oh yes,
one of my all-time favorites. So,
and I think I don't know if he directed the first one, but I know he produced at least all of them. The Transporter series.
I think he
may have directed the first one.
The first one, he might have.
But if not, he did at least.
Was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it showed Jason Statham could be James Bond if he wanted to.
James Bond if he wanted to be. And he gave us that. I like what he did with Statham because like the Transporter gave us kind of the more grittier, like rough around the edges version of a Bond. You know, Jason Statham, like. He's a handsome dude, but he's not classically handsome like Bonds have always been. He's kind of this rugged dude, shaved head. Like, I like that. And you gotta love Jason Statham. You gotta love what he did with Guy Ritchie, man.
Oh yeah, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and
Snatch.
Snatch. Oh,
Snatch is fucking
Dude, Brad Pitt
hilarious.
in Snatch.
He's so good in that
Yes.
movie, bro.
Wow.
The way he talks.
Oh my God, Periwinkle Blue Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good, but yeah, man, it's I definitely think Fifth Element was influenced. There's so much to this day. I feel like now people are more influenced by it now than they were even in the 80s and 90s, man.
Yeah, and
like
they
all these
really
Marvel movies, man. I'm like, just because you bought the property don't mean you need to throw in all the elements from it. They're like, well, we won't get sued.
Yeah, we're not going to sue ourselves,
Yeah,
are we?
like, let's take ourselves to court.
Maybe we'll win.
Maybe we'll win and somehow keep monopolizing the entire world, because eventually, you know, Disney's going to own absolutely everything.
Yes.
They're going to own your toilet. Every time you take a piss, you're going to see a Disney logo. You see Mickey Mouse on the toilet seat.
Wow. That would leave me flushed.
Leave me flushed. But yeah, man, it's I mean, hell, the influence is so strong. It's influence.
The influence is strong
it.
in this one.
It's strong in this one. I mean, the influence is so strong, and the legacy and the lasting impact is so strong that Disney went ahead, bought a property from a guy that hadn't made a anything from it in almost 10 years from the time they bought it, and spent a stupid, dumb amount of money to buy these properties because they know how beloved it is, what it did for cinema, what it did for the times. And they know this name alone, even if we put some trash out, some people are going to go out and sniff the funk. Like, look, man, everyone was so hyped when The Force Awakens came out. It's like, it's in the top, I think it's top 10 highest grossing films all time. It made like $2 billion, bro.
It was incredible.
Like, yo, and me too. Like, man, I'm like, the wars is back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yo, who's not hype? Like, especially because I was around when Phantom Menace came out, and I remember the hype on that. Even though I was only 8 years old, I remember, man, I had the Darth Maul backpack. I was Darth Maul for Halloween. I was hyped up. I love Darth Maul.
They misused that character.
Dude, film?
Yeah, we won't go into that, but he was probably Ray Park's best character.
Dude, he killed it, bro. Just the stoic, badass nature. And then, dude, the physicalness, bro. You fought 2 Master Jedis at the same time and almost won. You pretty much did win.
But you know, after that fight, you know what his favorite creamer was? Half and half.
Half and half.
Terrible. Terrible.
Yes, it was half and half, guys. But man, he came out hard. The dual lightsabers, bro. That was. I don't care what nobody says, bro. The prequels have a lot of good, cool stuff in them, man. They look incredible, and the prequels alone were highly influential throughout the 2000s. Like, the prequel set the standards of what visual effects were to come for all this dope superhero films we're seeing now.
That's true,
dude. Without the prequels,
without Jar Jar Binks,
dude, Jar Jar Binks wasn't he like the
he
first
completely CGI?
Yeah, he was like one of the first completely CGI creations. And like, whether you hate or love his character, because we know he's a very divisive character, whether you hate or love him or not, you got to respect
the technology behind
tech.
it.
Dude, 99, which it came out in 99, so it was done in 97 or 8. I'm like, bro, George was always ahead of the game with tech, bro. I'm like, he made.
That's why I say without him, James Cameron, because if you didn't have Jar Jar Binks, as dumb as it sounds, you wouldn't have gotten
the
to the point.
People in Avatar.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes, Jar Jar Binks, hate him or love him, is highly influential to the advancement of cinema. The Phantom Menace was. People didn't love. Now people definitely like it a lot more, but people weren't crazy about it. And I'm like, dude, he's not gonna recreate A New Hope, you know?
Yeah, that was what The Force Awakens was for.
Yes, and I love all the risks Lucas took in the films. Attack of the Clones is tough watch. I do think the third act picks up nicely, but
yeah, it's not a bad film.
It's not
though.
a bad film, but it's. When you stack them up against the other ones, it's like, eh. But looking back on it, I'd definitely watch it over Rise of Skywalker any day.
It's building up the history of Boba Fett, though.
Yes,
so it's trying
very well.
Yeah,
and if you're a Boba Fett fan, I definitely think you need to watch the Attack of the Clones. Just like if you're a Darth Vader fan, you definitely got to watch Revenge of the Sith. Now, Revenge of the Sith is one of the best films ever made. I don't care what nobody says. You can talk about the dialogue, the acting, whatever. The story, the visuals, it's fun as hell. It gets you right in it, bro.
Anakin's arc.
Yo, Anakin's arc is awesome,
Yes.
bro. When you see him and Obi-Wan fight, that is nuts. Yeah, it's choreographed as hell, but it's awesome still. I don't care.
And is that one? I can't remember which one. Count Dooku and Yoda. Is
That's Attack of the
Clones?
when
Yeah,
they fight.
because when Yoda,
spinning around,
Yeah.
and I'm actually people hated on that. I was a
Really?
fan, bro. I'm like 10, 11. I think I was 11, bro. I was 10. I'm in there. Yeah, I was 10. I'm in the theater like, this is so fire. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm like,
because
this is so dope.
it's before that you just saw Yoda as like this old,
This old guy.
decrepit. Yeah, he
Just
should have been
sitting
parking in the
around.
Darth Vader space.
He should have. Yeah, because bro, when you see him in Empire, like first of all, Frank Oz's puppeteering was A1.
Oh yeah,
But when you see him, like you said, he's down and out, living in a swamp,
yeah.
eating trash. I don't even know what this man was eating. Like
Yeah.
when Luke takes a bite of that food he made, bro, his face is priceless. He's like, I'm like, yo, that's gotta be bad.
Yeah,
He's got a cane, you could clearly tell this dude ain't fought nobody in probably 40, 50 years at least.
yeah.
But he is still strong with the Force. The dude does pull Luke's X-Wing out of the swamp.
He does.
And Luke's just mind blown. But I like that they put that in there because they talk Yoda up as this mythical, just ultimate Jedi who's insane with the Force and just couldn't be stopped. But we got to see it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I thought that was cool. Just like, a lot of people hated the Obi-Wan show, which I thought it was actually pretty fun. Of course, there was some stupid stuff in it, but Vader in it. If you're a Vader fan, you have to watch it.
I haven't seen it yet. I do have to watch it.
Yeah, if you like Vader, you got to watch it. Just like, we won't even use that as an example. Let's use Rogue One.
Okay.
Rogue One, when we saw that, now that's all before A New Hope. But when you see Vader just come on that ship and walk through that hallway and you see that red saber come out and he cuts all them dudes down, forces a dude on in the ceiling, cuts him in half. That's the Vader we all knew he could be.
Yeah, yeah.
And so whether you hate the later adaptations of stuff, you do get to see what we know these people to be. Like, we know Vader's a strong ass, freak ass dude, but you don't really see him go crazy on anyone in the movie. He has his little goons do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But in Rogue One, you get to see, that's the Darth Vader I had in my head.
So what's Vader like in the Obi-Wan show?
A complete asshole, strong as fuck, freak dude, bro.
Really?
He's insane. Bro, he forced a ship out of the sky. Insane as it's taking off.
It's Hayden
bro.
Christensen, right?
Yes, it's Hayden
Coming back.
And he's coming back, and he comes back hard, bro.
Wow.
He gets some nice little time in it, bro. And dude, and it's cool. You get to see some more interactions with Vader and Obi-Wan. Now, it throws off the plot of A New Hope because they set it up like they haven't seen each other in a very long time. But if you watch the Obi-Wan show, it's like y'all saw each other not that
Now,
long
wait.
ago.
Does he consider it to be Anakin, or does he consider it to be Darth Vader, though? Because that could be the difference in I haven't seen him in a long time.
That's exactly the way they go with it.
Okay.
That's exactly the way they go with it. And essentially, like, in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is pissed because he's like, man, why didn't you tell me, bro? You knew he was my dad. And he's like, listen, your dad died when he became Vader. You know what I mean? Darth Vader ain't your dad. Anakin Skywalker's your dad.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is where they go. But it did make a lot of people mad because just the way they interact, it will seem like a little like, come on, bro. If y'all actually did this, y'all would have treated each other differently when you saw each other in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And it would have felt like, you know, Obi-Wan did know a good amount about Vader in A New Hope and what they were up to. But when you see the Obi-Wan show, you're going to be like, bro, he could have been stopped this if it went this way.
So is that the problem then with like doing prequels? Like,
I definitely think that is, and that's just with anything.
yeah, not just Star Wars. Yeah, anything.
Anything. A prequel can really throw something off. A great prequel to me would be like X-Men First Class.
Oh yes,
or of course Batman Begins, which I wouldn't even call that a prequel. I would just call it an origin story.
Yeah,
but there's some good prequels out there, and I think the prequel trilogy is a great set of prequels.
Yeah,
and I do think it flows into Rogue One nicely, and then flowing into A New Hope nicely. Now, when you get the shows and all the other crap, that's when stuff starts getting a little muddy. But I do think George wrote some nice prequel stories that lined up with the OT pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the influence is strong with this one for real. It's nuts how deep it goes, man. But before we wrap this, because we're getting long.
Yeah, we are today. Well, we had a lot to talk about.
We had a lot to talk about, and
and we just came up with this last night. Yeah, that's what's crazy.
Yeah,
I prepped all week for something different.
Yeah, me too, bro. I'm rewatching 2 films.
Yeah,
and I'm like, we're gonna scrap that. I had notes on them, everything.
So did I.
Scrap that and go with something else. I had to change my questions, everything.
Yeah.
I was like, we gotta do it though. It's Star Wars. One of my Empire Strikes Back is a life-changing film for me.
Yeah.
So, before we head out though, what are you thinking about the future of Star Wars, and what do you think they should do? Do you think they should continue down a show route and keep just doing little arcs? Because, and I'm ashamed to say this as a Star Wars fan, I have not watched Andor.
Okay.
I've watched all the other shows and films. I've not watched Andor. And apparently Andor's good. So
yeah,
I will watch that. But what do you think? You think they should maybe dive into possibly continue the story, or you think they should cut it off and focus strictly on small scale things?
Well, I think what I've noticed, at least with like the Marvel shows, let's say, because I haven't watched, I know it's going to be blasphemous, I haven't watched The Mandalorian. I haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched Obi-Wan or Andor. But I've watched some of the Marvel shows, and I've noticed I do enjoy when they can tell a longer story.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get more into the characters. So if, like the newer films, I enjoyed them, but I didn't enjoy them as much as even the prequels. And the prequels are kind of trash if you love the originals.
Yes.
So I think that they probably should do more shows, but be more discerning, because like, I think you and I and my daughter Cora are the only 3 people who loved Solo.
Yeah, yes, we're literally some of the only people on the planet that like Solo. A good friend of mine likes Solo too. My boy likes Solo.
But look, if they would do Donald Glover as Lando, he was so perfect. And even the guy who did young Han was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just do more stories, because we know what happens to them later, but getting to know what happened in between is more interesting when you have interesting people playing them.
Yes. And I like that you brought up Glover, and I think his name's Aldrich. I can't remember his first name.
Ehrenheit.
Aldrich Ehrenheit.
Yeah,
that's
I
his
think
name,
so.
right?
Yeah,
I was like, I know it was Aldrich's in there.
Yeah.
He was great, and so was obviously Glover was amazing, and I think they have really good chemistry. I'm like, I would love if they were like, yo, we're just gonna do a 6-part Han and Lando story.
That would be incredible.
That would be awesome with them two and Chewie.
Yeah,
because we know they get into more. Look, they have a history that's even richer than I think Solo shows.
Yeah.
At least, obviously, in the minds we make up in our the stuff we make up in our minds as fans.
Yeah.
But like in my eyes, Han and Lando, they've gotten into some stuff, and I think they at some point they had a little bit of a falling out, and I do think that when they meet in Empire, that's why it's like, man, I haven't seen you in a little bit, and Han and Chewie are already like, bro, hey, or Chewie's like, bro, hey, is he still mad at you for that? And he's like, bro, that was a long time ago. I don't know. So there's this element of mystery when you meet him, like, bro, is he gonna be cool? Is he not? Like,
Yeah.
give us something leading up to that meeting. And 6 episodes, 40 minutes each. I'm not asking for a lot,
Yeah.
but you guys are charging us a lot for Disney Plus every month. We paying our bill every month.
Yeah.
Y'all getting tons of money out of us. Give us something. I would love, bro.
And it'd be a great space western.
Yes, it would be so Western like.
Yeah.
Because you ain't going to have no sabers or nothing like that.
No.
But Han Solo proved you don't need lightsabers and lightsaber battles to make a good Star Wars film or a good Star Wars adaptation. So you take Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, you take both of them, let them direct it.
Yeah, because he did a great job with Solo.
He did a great job with Solo, and she does a good job with The Mandalorian. So I'm like, bro, her behind the camera, she is stunning in front of it. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I watch Rocket Man, bro, every time she came on screen, I like lost my train of thought, bro. But she is so good as a director. I'm like, bro, all the best episodes of everything she's been a part of, she probably directed them. So let them do it. They already got a hold of, a grip on what the story is and where to go. Give Ron Howard like 10 million, he'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the one I really would like, I would love just a small, either a film or like maybe 5 or 6 episodes. I just want a Vader story. Just about Vader. And it can be from what he did from between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Because there's a good amount of time where we don't know what he was really up to.
That's true. And what is I think I asked it earlier, but what is the gap between
timeline?
Yeah.
So
because we know Luke changed
on it. I'm not 100% on it. I believe the timeline from A New Hope to Empire, I believe it's only maybe a year, if that. But I think the timeline from Jedi or from Empire to Jedi, I feel like it's a couple years.
Yeah, it
maybe
feels
like 2 or 3.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's a good amount of time where Vader was just waiting for Luke to reemerge.
Yeah, and so he would have been like stewing and planning.
Yes, and in the comics and the novels, they say Vader, he kept to himself a lot and stayed in Vader's castle and worked on ships and built stuff and stuff like that. But he was out. I would just love to see him out doing Vader everyday stuff, not being puppeteered by Palpatine.
Yeah.
Not, chasing down his son. I want to see what he was like as a guy because he's such a complex character because he's went through so much. Dude, he was a slave with his mom. All right. Mom got both. You don't even know where your dad's at. Mom got murdered. All right. You're a kid. You pretty much get adopted by these Jedis. They pretty much turn their back on you. You knock up this girl. You have kids. You don't even get to raise them, but they're alive, but you don't even get to raise them. Your love died in childbirth, bro. You got both your legs and one of your arms cut off. You got put in a robot suit and was pretty much put under mind control by the biggest asshole in the galaxy. So that'll affect you as a guy.
When you put it that way, yes.
I'm like, I don't think people really break down Darth Vader's arc and realize how layered of a character he actually is.
Yeah. You know what would be a great thing to add in if Anakin as Darth Vader actually finds out who his father was?
That'd be cool.
Because after Luke found out, wouldn't that be the natural completion of that circle, I guess? I don't know. Just so, because I always thought it was probably Qui-Gon.
Bro,
I mean, just
it would seem to make sense
Yeah.
just by the way he treats him.
Yes,
And treats him off the rip. And he's force sensitive. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
So, because I'm pretty sure his mom wasn't. At least
Yeah.
I didn't say anything or nothing. I'm like, so he got it from somewhere, bro.
Yes.
It didn't just pop out of thin air. So
even if it's not that, I think it would be interesting if, like, because he did change at the end of Return of the Jedi.
mm-hmm.
And so if, like, him finding out more about his past would have made him more empathetic to Luke's plight.
To Luke, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then by the time him and Luke meet again, because yes, he's still like, Luke, your destiny lies with Palpatine. But think about this. He in Empire Strikes Back, he's already like, bro, we can take this shit over father and son. We'll kill that motherfucker and do our own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he says that. He's like, and he's like, bro, the Emperor has foreseen this. So this is the natural how it should go. So I'm like, that would have been nice for him to find that out in between there, because he obviously does care about Luke, and we see he freaking risks his own life for him. So
yeah.
Dude, you could do so much with Vader's arc. There's a reason he's one of the most iconic villains ever.
Yeah. And villains usually are more interesting than the heroes.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a villain guy, And I made my heroes villains videos. I even say that. I'm like, listen, my heroes list, I was like, bro, I know this is a weird list. I'm not really a hero guy. I'm a villain dude. You know what I mean? I kept it real. I'm like, I'm a villain guy. So doing the villains list, I had a list long as a scroll. Heroes, I'm like, he was a good hero. I'm like, And then I'm like, I felt like I had weird people. Like I had Peter O'Toole from Lawrence of Arabia in there. Like,
he was actually a real hero. He was a real guy.
Real hero.
Yeah.
But,
not Peter O'Toole, but
not Peter O'Toole, but T.E. Lawrence.
T.E. Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, but like I had like Katniss Everdeen in there.
Well, I guess.
I mean, bro.
Some people are forced into it though, like she was, right?
But she volunteered.
Oh.
She volunteered, remember, to save her own sister. That's a hero.
It's been so long,
dude.
Let me 10 years since
let me give you the 30-second breakdown of Katniss Everdeen.
Okay.
First, she volunteers herself to the games to save her little sister, Noble. Goes in the games, goes hard as hell, keeps Peeta's punk ass alive, and tries to keep other people alive, and rigs the game essentially so she does keep these people alive. Badass. Then becomes the leader and face of the revolution and pretty much liberates the people. So she's hard, man. If you break down what she's done, and bro, Jennifer Lawrence, come on, man.
See, I watched. I think there's 4 Hunger Games films, right? I think I've seen the first 3.
Because, you gotta watch the last one, bro.
Because of kids, they were into the books, and then,
bro, you gotta watch the last one.
But I was watching it, and I remember thinking, wasn't this The Running Man? Like the Schwarzenegger movie that was a Stephen King book first?
I never saw that.
Really?
Yeah, or read it.
It's a game show where people compete to not die.
Bro, that's a Stephen King book?
Yeah.
It's probably good, huh?
He wrote it as Richard Bachman. The book is better than the film.
Probably.
So it's part of the Bachman books. It's like, when I guess he was publishing too much under his own name. So they were like, whoa, calm down, buddy.
Be someone else.
Yeah, you're a little too prolific right now. So, and the movie isn't bad. I mean, it's a late 80s Schwarzenegger film.
Okay.
I
mean, I love Schwarzenegger.
I'm an American spy.
Yep, he is. I'm gonna watch True Lies. We will definitely have a True Lie. We'll have a Schwarzenegger episode.
Yes, we should.
Down the line.
Yeah, and it better not be a Raw Deal, which is another 80s Schwarzenegger film.
Yes, it won't be junior size.
Yeah,
it'll be big,
large
scale. We'll terminate it. But Arnold's the man, bro. Arnold's the man,
and he does have that new show coming out.
Crazy, still getting in the game, bro. He's rich as hell. Like, if I'm Arnold, bro, my feet be kicked up.
A cigar, he loves the cigars.
I'd be cigar.
Yeah.
With my money, I wouldn't. Dude,
wouldn't you try to get to the chopper?
Yes, I would try and get to the chopper. Dude fought the Predator. He was a Terminator. Governor of Cali, bro. He was Turbo Man. Like,
dude, he was the last action hero.
He was
an underrated film.
Dude, I love that film because I love how self-aware he is.
Yes,
that's
doing
why
Hamlet,
I've always liked him.
It's actually one of the best scenes he's probably ever done.
It really is. Dude, the last action hero is hella underrated.
Yeah,
bro. And that's one of the
John McTiernan.
Yeah, bro. I forgot he did that
Yeah.
first, huh?
Yeah.
That was before Die Hard, right?
It was after Die Hard.
It was it.
Yeah.
What year is that? 92?
3, I think.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Kick-ass soundtrack too.
Yo, that's hey, he had a little run too, huh?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
did
'cause-
Die Hard 2? Did he do Die Hard 2?
No. I think Rennie Harlan directed Die Hard 2.
Okay. That's the one with Sam Jackson, right?
No, that's Die Hard 3.
That's 3.
I think he did Die Hard and Die Hard 3.
Okay.
I think Rennie Harlan did Die Hard 2. But McTiernan also directed Predator.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Was,
Yeah.
Dude, Predator 1 is so great.
Yeah.
Bro.
So, a couple years there, he did some really...
He had his run, man.
Yeah, he
had
did.
his run. All right, guys. We're going to need a wrap. This went long.
It did go very long.
But, it's there. The content's there for you guys. So, guys, appreciate you tuning in. If you made it to the end, we will be back with Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars. We're going to break those guys down. Of course, get off topic like we always do.
Naturally.
But you guys be tuned. Make sure you're tuning in for the Cutting Room Floor. I'm Dom.
I'm Jamie.